You know, last week we had a great discussion. I think Bob kind of started it by asking, you know, sort of the notion of what you should be feeling, what the chi's all about. And I think Larry kind of brought us into a conclusion with talking a little bit about the sweet spot that happens in certain endeavors and sort of tying that in with what we do. So I just wanted to, it was a great discussion, and I don't know if anyone had any thoughts afterwards or if something came to you or you had a question. So just wanted to kind of go back last week for a little bit of time just to kind of see if there was anything that someone thought about later on.
Yeah. When I was talking with Barbara recently, I was wondering about, does the chi stay with you when you're alive, or does chi disappear when you're dead? Do we have individual chis, or is there an overall chi that we're borrowing from at the time? And I don't know what, I was trying to read through Justin's Joy Through Movement, and he talks a little bit about it, but we never came to a real conclusion. And it's sort of, I know it's sort of asking like, is there a God or not? But I was wondering, do we borrow from a big chi, or are we just playing around with it? What is your idea about chi?
So I'll give you a little perspective, I think, that comes out of Tai Chi Chih. Justin said, really, what we're doing is generating the universal energy, which obviously would mean an energy that's out there even if the planet was gone. Yeah. So I think that's the way he looks at it, that there is this overall universal energy that by us doing these practices, particularly doing them using the principles of Tai Chi Chih, that we have a chance to connect with that. And that's why he'll often say, once you get used to doing Tai Chi Chih and start to relax, you'll oftentimes feel as though, well, you know, I seem to be doing this, but I don't seem to be putting out any effort. I'm just sort of along for the ride. So that universal energy was around before the planet. Universal energy is just going to be there. I think that would be Justin's kind of notion of what we're doing.
The other thing that Justin says is that he does talk about like the mini energy as opposed to the maxi energy, and that we come in with X amount of chi as well in our personal being, and that by doing something like Tai Chi Chih or the different forms that cause the chi to separate and join, the yin and the yang, that you actually can increase the power and healing of your own internal chi. So he did speak of it as being both the supreme ultimate, the unmarked block, and then your own. It's probably Donna.
And on top of that, Bob, I would say that, yeah, Justin said a lot of what we do is we have habit energies that kind of don't allow us to be as one with the chi, and it takes a process to do that. So I think what he's saying is that the more you practice, the more you can start to become more a universal soul being. Yeah. So I don't know if we answered your question, Bob, but hopefully that's given you some.
It sounds, it's interesting because I'm trying to see the differentiation between what you call chi and what I call God. And I think we're calling the same thing.
Justin would say the same thing. He would also say basically it's love.
Right.
That's what he'd say. Yeah. So I'm glad we're doing this, because it's kind of fun to kind of think about why do we do this? You know, I think once you start to do it for a while, you finally start to kind of get it, and you know something's going on, but sometimes it's nice to talk about it. So today I'm going to just do one, and I'm going to do it kind of, I'll shorten it a little bit. But one of the great things about Tai Chi Chih is, of course, we have principles. And part of the reason for the principles are because we don't have Justin around. But long before Justin passed away, two of the teacher trainers, Pam Town and Sandy McAllister, put together the 6 principles. So we, of course, have them on a big page, which you can't see, but it's a 1-page. How can you get all the principles onto the side of 1 page? And yet, when you read it, and I know most of you have probably heard what is on here. So I find it interesting. And the one we're going to look at today, there's the flowing from the center, softness and continuity, yinning and yanning, focusing on the soles of the feet, circularity, and the last one's polarity. And polarity is what we're going to talk about today and do a movement with it. So polarity basically just means it's the energy you get from putting your palms facing. And so that is what it's all about. So when I first started to do Tai Chi Chih and I heard about the principle, I thought, well, that's got to be some minor one. We need to get, into the yinning and yanning where we're generating all this chi and all the rest. And so I won't say I wrote polarity off. I just thought, it's a minor principle. And I have to say, in my journey in Tai Chi Chih, I thought that way for quite a while. And it wasn't until I started to get this sort of the movement of the fingers. And then I started to go, well, there's one movement where I get quite a bit of movement in the fingers, particularly when it first started to happen. And that was carry the ball to the side. And it probably took me a long time before I realized the reason that is because there's a lot of polarity. We start like this and we kind of stay like that. So that was a real eye-opener for me. Now, the one we're going to look at today is not carry the ball to the side. We'll look at that maybe next week. This week, we're going to look at bird flaps its wings. So bird flaps its wings is what Justin calls a preliminary, along with rocking motion. So he said it's kind of think of it like a warm-up. And I kind of, after practicing for a while here, have kind of realized it's a warm-up in the sense that it brings you into that energy where you are focused and your mind's quiet. And that's, I think, probably as much as what he meant. So bird flaps its wings is the last movement that Justin put into the set of 19 movements we do. And he started to teach Tai Chi Chih and then put it in later on. He had been experimenting with it and finally found that it produced quite a bit of flow for him. And so he introduced it. So it's the last movement that was added. And it is the first movement that we have polarity in it. So that's where I thought I'd start today. So